Hello, welcome along to another football show here at Betfred. We've got lots to talk about after the international break, of course, as domestic football, the Premier League and Championship returns. We're going to be doing it in the company of this man, the former England goalkeeper, also formerly of Leeds, Spurs and Blackburn, Paul Robinson. Are you well, Paul? You're looking forward to getting back to the basics?
I can't wait, yeah. I mean, we talked last time we were here about the international breaks coming too soon. And it's difficult to get excited about England-Andorra and England against Hungary, isn't it? After the excitement of the Euros, then the Premier League starts. Then all of a sudden we have to, we get put back into the internationals. But no, another good weekend of Premier League football, but started off by a great Championship game on Friday night. Yeah,
massive game, isn't it, between the two West Midlands rivals. We've lots to talk about. We'll get stuck into all of the Premier League as well and get his predictions from Paul. But we'll talk about this one because West Brom take on Birmingham. West Brom got beaten last time out for the first time. Well, Birmingham, he's in a little bit of bother, isn't he, Lee Boy? You can't buy a win at the moment.
No, they're struggling, Birmingham. You look at the recent results, 4 defeats in the last 5, going to a West Brom team who are in form. I mean, yes, they lost against Stoke, but that ended a run of 10 straight league wins, I think it was, for the manager there. And I think he's done a great job since he's been in there. Them, for me, are the favourites to go up. I think they're the best equipped to go up. And I think it's going to be a really big ask for Birmingham going there. I mean, I was surprised that West Brom got beat last time out because they won 4-0 at Cardiff. They won so well. And the manager thought, great, didn't change his team, went to Stoke and, he said maybe he should have changed his team. Maybe it was a little bit too close. And they got turned over. And I think that's the first poor result that they've had. But this Birmingham side are really struggling. I mean, you look at the stats that they've got, they're 4 points above the bottom 3. They really do need some points at the moment.
They're a short price, West Brom. Maybe not that short when you look at the form. 8-13 for West Brom. Or West Brom to win to 0, 13-8.
Yeah, I can't see anything other than a West Brom win. Carlin Grant's gone to the top of the goal scoring charts. Sam Johnson has been in a little bit of indifferent form in goal. They've let in a few too many goals. But his recent performance against Andorra for England, his assist for the goal that everybody's talking about, that might just be the confidence booster that he needs to kickstart this season. Lee Boy's got a battle on to win the supporters over. He played a back 3 against Forest, changed it up. They lost 3-0. Tried to secure it at the back and they didn't. They lost. They're conceding too many goals and not scoring goals. Troy Deeney's not really hit the ground running. He needs a lot more from players like that. And I think it's going to be a really, really big ask for Birmingham to get anything at the Hawthorns, to be honest.
Is it going to be a convincing West Brom win?
I've got written down here, I've got a 2-0 West Brom win.
Yeah.
Birmingham 5 games without scoring in open play. Unless Troy Deeney shows up and Birmingham have a little bit more attacking intent, I can't see how they're going to score. For me, West Brom will overpower them. They're too strong. They're more than capable of keeping a clean sheet. So I'm going to go 2-0 West Brom and Carlin Grant to carry on his goal scoring.
There you go, can get involved in a couple of those. So 8-30, maybe West Brom in the outrights, West Brom to win to 0, 13-8, or maybe get involved in the score as well. I mean, as far as the Championship is concerned, there's probably the majority of the teams we expected to be up there are up there. West Brom, Fulham, Bournemouth, Stoke were improving all last season as well. How do you see it?
Well, it's a prize package of Coventry, aren't they?
Yeah.
Coventry sitting in 3rd place at the moment. The job that Mark Robbins has done there has been incredible with them. Bournemouth, West Brom, you'd expect them to be there. Fulham up there in the playoff places. The two that surprised me really are Sheffield United and Cardiff, how low down they are. You sat looking at the league now, Bournemouth and West Brom sat at the top. You're looking who else is going to break into those playoffs. I think Fulham will be there or thereabouts. Fulham are the one, for me, that can challenge the top 2. They will definitely get a playoff place. Sheffield United and Cardiff are the 2 I can see that will improve out of the pack. I'd love to see Blackburn improve. They're sitting, they're there or thereabouts in the playoffs, but they have been for a while. I'm disappointed that they're kind of a mid-table Championship team. They need that little bit more investment, just that little bit more of a nudge and a bit of luck to get in the playoffs. But as it is now, Coventry, in all honesty, I can't see staying there because they've done so well. I think they'll probably drop out of the playoffs. Stoke and Fulham will be there. QPR, I think those 2 places are up for grabs.
Yeah, and could see Blackburn in 8th place as well, I'm sure.
I think the winners come between Bournemouth, West Brom and Fulham.
Don't think be far wrong, to be honest. Might be plenty of goals as well. Don't forget that this weekend when both teams score, it is goals galore.
Think the fixture list is full of goals? Then check out our Goals Galore bonus coupon. Pick 4 correct matches and a £10 stake will turn into £100. Pick 5 correct matches and it will return £170. When both teams score, it's goals galore.
Yeah, let's get stuck into the Premier League then. Some mouth-watering fixtures, not least at Vicarage Road. We're talking about another managerial change for Watford. Seems to be, far too frequent, doesn't it? And what a game, Claudio Ranieri in charge, as they take on Liverpool. I thought the previous manager had done an okay job, so it's a strange warm-up, maybe not if you're a Watford fan.
Well, after 7 games, it's hard to judge what type of job the manager's done. He hasn't been really given much of a chance. It's fantastic to see Ranieri back in the Premier League, though. I mean, his press conferences alone are just great value, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the work that he's done, you look at the job that he's done, especially taking Leicester to the title. Watford have got to look now, Watford fans, with a bit of optimism. You know, he knows the league. He's not daft. The first thing he's done in his press conference, he's gone 40 points. I need 40 points. I need to keep Watford in the Premier League. And if that is his remit this year, I think he's more than capable of doing that. They've got a good squad. They've got a good squad of experience and youth that's blended in quite well. And I think he's a man who can keep them in the Premier League. He's got a massive ask at the weekend against Liverpool.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Watford. I mean, 1 win in 6. Liverpool unbeaten in the last 6, and they've won 4 of them in all competitions. Liverpool, for me, a team on their day, unplayable. We've sat here and talked, and I think too many people have written them off. But I think Liverpool are going to be very, very strong this year. They've scored 17 goals in the Premier League, which is the most in the Premier League this year. You look at their front 3, you look at their front 5, they're going to cause Watford a lot of problems this weekend.
Yeah, and here's a stat for you, Paul. Watford have conceded in 17 straight games since the 3-0 win at Anfield that ended Liverpool's club record 44-game unbeaten run. So,
yeah.
I mean, to concede every single week.
It's, and especially when you've got probably the best attacking force in the Premier League coming to visit you on your first game.
Doesn't go well, does it?
They've failed to score in 5. They won 1, drawn 1, and they failed to score in 5 games. So going forward, they're not going to offer a lot. Defensively, they really have got their work cut out. The only thing positive from a Watford side, as you look at it, is going to be Alisson and Fabinho. They've been away on international duty. Are they going to get back in time? Liverpool have conceded 5 in the last 2 games. So they're missing key players. So if Watford are going to get a goal, they have got an opportunity to break down this Liverpool side. So I do fancy Watford to maybe get a goal, but I think Liverpool have got far too much firepower going forward for them. Yeah,
Ranieri boasts the best record at home against Liverpool in the English Premier League history, 80% win rate, so maybe there's a crumb of comfort there. What's your verdict? I mean, how about this for a bet? Liverpool and over 3.5 goals, 15-8. Is that maybe a way to play it, or do you see another way in?
I think it's a great bet. I think your bet is Liverpool, but you've got to be constructive the way that you bet. I've got down here Liverpool 3-1 and Salah to score.
Be so perfect, that
over your
it?
3.5 goals, pick a goal scorer.
Yeah.
And games like that where there's almost, it's not a certain winner because you don't know what's going to happen in the Premier League. Liverpool are a favourite, so it's more than likely you put Liverpool in your acca, they're going to come through. They beat Watford, be constructive with your bet. Pick goals, pick goal scorers, pick yellow cards, pick corners. I'm going 3-1 Liverpool and Salah to keep scoring. There you go, bit more value to be had. Mane as well, he's scored 99 Premier League goals. If he gets one more, it's 100, so that's a bit of a langed mark as well. Right into the 3 o'clock kickoffs then. Villa take on Wolves. Midlands derby here. Seemed some impressive results for Villa in the post-Jack Grealish year. We thought they might struggle, but they've beaten the likes of United and Everton, so they're a good side, aren't they, Villa? You don't know what you're going to get with Villa, though. They'll go and beat United, Everton,
then
they lose to Spurs, and they'll lose games that you don't expect them to lose. They've got a great record at home this year. They've not lost at home this year. But, I mean, you look at these two teams, there's 2 places and one point separate both of these teams. Wolves, again, are indifferent. You don't know what you're going to get with them. They've conceded less than a goal a game. They concede very, very few chances. And unlike under Nuno, they're going forward a bit more. They're creating a little bit more. So I think the value in this one, I think that there's 2 very, very closely matched teams here. I think the value is in the goal-scoring market and picking a goal scorer. I actually think it'll be a draw this game because I think they're very, very closely matched. Yeah, it's a 12-5 about a draw as well. And we saw a bit of a new name, don't we? Han Lee Chan, who looked a real handful, didn't he? He's like the full package in last time Wolves played. He does. He looks like a quality player, and it's not taking him long to adapt to the Premier League. Sometimes, and it's difficult, that, isn't it? Of course it is, yeah. You see a lot of players and a lot of managers talk about how different the Premier League is and how long it takes them to adapt, and he hasn't had that. He's got pace and power, and they're a massive component, Paul, aren't they? Yeah. He runs in the passing channels, and he's got great vision as well, and I think he's going to be a great addition to Wolves this year. Saying that, they've only scored 5 this year. Villa, they've scored 10, yet to lose at home. The likes of Watkins, Danny Ings, this is going to be a really good game. I think Wolves play a little bit more direct under the new manager than they did under Nuno. There's not so much build-up play. There's only Burnley that have played more direct passes, long balls in the Premier League than Wolves this year. So they're not afraid to go longer when they need to. And I think they could cause Villa problems by doing that.
12-5 that draw if you fancy Paul Robinson's advice. What should be a good game, that one, between the two. What about Leicester against Manchester United as we're walking our way through all of the fixtures for you here on the football show? You said on the show the last time that Ole's not the right man to take United onto titles. Have you changed your mind there?
No, not after the last result. I spoke to you quite openly about team selection. We talked about Ronaldo, Cavani, the age of those two players. Manchester United playing 50, 60 games a year. They can't play 50, 60 games a year, but you have to select them in the right games. And for me, 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon at home at Old Trafford is the right game to pick Cristiano Ronaldo. And he didn't. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about it since. Yeah. And you get your best out, your best players, and it's man managing them and picking them at the right times. And that was the right time to play him. You don't play him away at Burnley on a Tuesday night. Yeah. That's the night you give him a rest, not at home on a Saturday afternoon. I mean, it's a tough game against Leicester. Leicester haven't started as well as we'd expected them to. They've conceded 12 already this year, but they're looking to beat Man United for the third consecutive time in all competitions for the first time since 1901. They've not done that. But saying that, it's been a happy hunting ground for United. They've lost just one of the last 15 away at Leicester. So there's a lot of stats for and against this fixture, and I think there's two teams that have been very, very indifferent this year. It's a big game for United, especially after the last home game to Villa.
Yeah, might be without, no Varane, might be without Maguire as well. Jamie Vardy has been banging them in still for Leicester despite them struggling. So where's your money going to go here?
I'm going to score a draw. I think there's two teams here that both need a result. I think United, after the recent defeat, Leicester have been very unpredictable this year, sat down in 13th. We didn't expect them to see them there. But I think, like you said, United have got defensive players missing. Leicester are good going forward, but also United are very strong going forward. So I think I can see an open game, a bit of a basketball game, backwards and forwards. I'm going to go 2-2 draw.
There you go, he's going for a score prediction. 2-2, says Paul, in that one. Goals, it's an entertaining one. Might be a bit more straightforward for the other Manchester clubs. City are taking on Burnley. Burnley, well, I'll just give you their price and it'll probably tell you everything. 25-1 for a Burnley win at the Etihad.
I thought there'd be more. I thought there'd be more than that. I mean, I've played there a few times, and obviously playing with Burnley, been there, and I think the last 3 or 4 times it's been 5-0 to Manchester City.
12-1 that.
I think that's a great bet because that's what it's been the last 3 or 4 times. No disrespect to Burnley, but it's very, very difficult to go there. And the way that Burnley play, they try and disrupt Manchester City, but City will play with a high press. Burnley, they're 18th, no wins, they've got 3 draws. They got last season, they got the first win after 8 games. They haven't won this season, and this is their 8th game. I can't see them getting it this year. I just think City are going to be so strong, they'll overpower them. And like I said, the value in this one's the goals. I think you're looking at over 4.5 goals. But one thing in this game you can guarantee is that Burnley will pick up yellow cards. So a great bet is Burnley first yellow card or more than 4 yellow cards in the game. So structure your bet carefully. Structure your bet as in City to win 5, pick a goal scorer and go more than 4 cards in the game, or Burnley to get the first yellow card. I can't see anything but a City win. Yeah,
should be. I mean, 30-1 is the goal aggregate in the last 10 games between them. So they win on average 3-0.
It's very hard to make a case for Burnley, but this is one where you have to be really constructive with your bets. Like I say, you can guarantee that Burnley will pick up yellow cards, almost guarantee they'll pick up the first yellow card, because players will be running in behind the defenders, they'll be tracking runners, there'll be little fouls, even late in the game.
And Sean Dyche will say that, we have to disrupt them, and that means fouls, tackles, get stuck in,
play more direct. So there will be a lot of goals in this game in Manchester City's favour, in my opinion, and I think there'll be a lot of yellow cards. Yeah, well, 1-8 is not the way to play it, but Paul might have found you a way in there, that's for sure. What about Norwich? Norwich take on Brighton. Brighton, a massive surprise package. We talked about how well they'd done, but they're playing together as a team. No real superstars in that Brighton team, taking on Norwich, who've ended that 6 straight losses with a point at least last time out. I struggle to find an argument for Norwich. I think they've been poor this year. They frustrate me with their business model. It works for them. They get promoted, they take the Premier League money, they get relegated, they keep the squad together, they get promoted, they take the money, and that's the way that they've been. Give them credit this year, it's the first time they've really spent any money in the transfer market, and it's probably the worst start that they've had. They've lost both Premier League meetings with Brighton in the past. They've conceded 16 and they've only scored 2. So it's very, very difficult to make a case for them. Brighton, we talked a lot last year about them dominating games, playing really well, creating chances but not scoring. This season they've started to score goals. They've got 8. Okay, it's not up there with the Premier League's best, but they've started scoring. They're up there at the top of the Premier League where we didn't think that they would be. They're sitting in 6th at the moment. I mean, the biggest problem that Brighton have got this year is keeping hold of Graham Potter, because there's a lot of potential suitors for him. His stock is going up and up and up. and I think this is another game that they'll get 3 points on the board.
23-20. It's not a bad price when you look at the way Norwich have started.
No, I mean,
how Brighton have started.
It's very, very, like I said to you, it's very, very hard to make a case for Norwich in this game. Brighton have started very well. They're scoring goals. They're playing well. They're dominating games. I've got written down here Brighton to win to 0, and I can't see any other result.
Yeah.
So at that price, I think it's fantastic value.
Yeah, take the price. It'll be in a lot of hackers, that Brighton away as well. Will Leeds be in a lot of hackers? It's your former club as well. Two sides who would vote for maybe more from their opening 7 games. Having said that, I think we feared for Southampton a little bit because they'd lost some key players. For Leeds, just important that they're kind of up and running now.
Yeah, Southampton were one of my tips for relegation, and they still are. They've lost Danny Ings, Vestergaard, 2 key players. Yes, they've got Armstrong in from Blackburn, but not the same level as Ings, and I think they will struggle this year. Leeds, a lot of people have been asking me about relegation. They're 4th from bottom, 5th from bottom. They started poorly, but I've seen them to play 2 or 3 times this year, and I've been impressed with the performances. Performances have been there for them. Usual story, creating chances, not scoring goals. Newcastle away, they should have won.
Yeah.
Everton at home, they come back from goal down. They play particularly well. West Ham at home, they were very unfortunate to lose. They dominated in the first half. And Watford, they finally got over the line with a 1-0 win. Yes, it was a nervy win. There was a foul on the goalkeeper. Should it have been 1-1? Arguably, yes. But they got that win on the board.
Sometimes you just need that, don't you? A little bit of luck or a scrape away.
Again, it was a game that they dominated. They had chances, they scored, and they just didn't score enough. But the one worrying thing for me with Leeds is they've conceded the 2nd most in the Premier League. They look very, very vulnerable. When Llorente doesn't play, whether it's Cooper, Koch or Struijk, whatever partnership they have at the back, without Llorente, for me, they look vulnerable. Llorente came back in against Watford, kept a clean sheet.
And Calvin Phillips might be key, missed out for England in the week.
I think he's going to be fit. I think it was just a slight calf strain, which obviously when you have a little calf strain, it's going to be 10, 12 days, something like that. Patrick Bamford comes back in as well. Rafinha comes back in as well. So I think they've got key players back, and I think it will be a game that Leeds can win.
So Leeds are 2-1 the price for a victory at the weekend against Southampton. I didn't think you'd go against them.
No, I won't go against them, but I do worry about them defensively. So my bet for that one is Leeds to win, but both teams to score.
There you go. A bit more value to be had in that result. Let's move on to what is, well, you wouldn't have thought it might be the game of the weekend. It was the other week, wasn't it, when Brentford hosted Liverpool. 5:30, it's live in your Betfred shops. Brentford taking on Chelsea and West London derby. Start of the season, you just said, yeah, how many are Chelsea going to win by? You're not saying this now?
No, I mean, Brentford have come up. They've been fantastic since they've come up. They were my tip out of the 3 that came up to stay up. And they've proved me right so far. They've shown their resilience, they've shown their strength. We know how good Even Tony is, we know how strong he is going forward, but the team's proven to be the star. They've got that draw against Liverpool, they beat Arsenal on the first day of the season, and they've gone from strength to strength. Thomas Frank's very clever, he knows that set plays are going to win games, he knows how strong they are and how they can dominate in the air at set plays, which proved last week at the London Stadium against West Ham. I think that was a coupon buster for everybody. It certainly broke my coupon, Brentford winning there. Because I saw West Ham the previous week at Ellen Road and I backed them to win at home. So Brentford went there, they won. I mean, they've won 3, drawn 1, lost 1 recently. They look like the real deal. Chelsea are going to have a tough game. Yes, Chelsea is strong, top of the league. We know coming off the back of a couple of decent results, they're going to go there as strong favourites. But don't write Brentford off. It's a derby, it's a massive derby for them, and they keep proving people wrong.
11-2 for a Brentford win. I mean, it's not beyond the realms, but are you going to just side Chelsea?
No.
You're not?
I've gone score draw.
There you go.
I think there's some value in there. Yes, if Chelsea turn up and they play well, they can blow Brentford away. But the way that Brentford have set up, they play with 3 at the back. I think there's value in a set play goal scorer as well for Brentford. You look at the back 3, Pontius Janssen, always up for corners, always an opportunity to score. So I've actually got a score draw with Pontius Janssen to get on the score sheet.
There you go.
It's a brave one. I know it's a
brave
brave one.
But you could see that, couldn't you? They could see that happening as well. There might be a doubt over Lukaku. Should play, but he's not 100%. He's going to start in that game. So quite like the look of that. What about Sunday? Everton taking on West Ham. Everton have won all 3 of their Premier League home games so far this season. It was the other way around, wasn't it, last season? They won away and didn't always win at home. West Ham won 2 of the last 3 Premier League games away from home as well. So I don't know. This is a really tough one to call, isn't it? David Moyes going back to his former club. There's a few other ingredients.
2 very similar teams.
Yeah.
Within where they are in the league, the way they play, and the expectation of them. I mean, West Ham this season, they're having to balance Europe, which is different for them. They're having to rotate the squad.
Take its toll as the season progresses.
Eventually, because they've not got a huge squad. I think West Ham play better against teams that open up against them. West Ham struggle when teams sit deep, play the low block and say to them, look, what are you going to do? Try and break us down. Whereas teams that open up, like Leeds did against them, they've got Ben Rama, they've got Bowen, they've got Antonio, they've got players who can run at teams, they've got pace on the break. Declan Rice and Mikel Antonio have been key for them this year, and I think they will continue to be that way. I think it's a really interesting game because does Calvert-Lewin come back? Have we got Richarlison back? Both have played Leeds away recently. I've watched them both firsthand, and I was very impressed with them. Damari Gray, the way that he's playing at Everton, the signings that Benitez has got.
It's been one of the signings of the summer, hasn't it? For
Gray,
the money,
him,
for value for money.
Him and Townsend.
Yeah.
And do you know what? This is a game that I really struggle to separate the two teams. Where West Ham edge it, Everton edge it. West Ham have conceded 10, but you know you don't know on the day. These are two teams that have probably got very, very similar aspirations as to breaking into that top 4, top 6, if they can get up there in the league. So I found it very, very difficult to separate these two. So I've gone for a score draw, but I think there'll be goals in this game simply because I think both teams will play open. They'll try and win the game. So I've gone for a score draw and more than 2.5 goals in the game.
Yeah, you would expect goals in that one. Quick word on Andros Townsend as well, because it just goes to show, doesn't it, how confidence can affect a player. All of a sudden, he's got a couple of goals for Everton. He's been well received. It's a fresh start for him. And he looks absolutely brilliant for them.
There's a lot to be said about being happy where you're playing your football. And being content on and
he
off
believes
the
in
field.
himself, doesn't he, as well, all of a sudden?
The biggest thing you get is the confidence from a manager.
Yeah.
So when a manager believes in you, the fact that Rafa went and got him and brought him in as part of the Everton setup, there's a boost already. He's obviously got a relationship with the manager straight away.
Yeah.
In a similar way to the way Patrick Bamford's settled with Bielsa.
Yeah.
Bamford's had however many clubs he's had, 12, 15 clubs, whatever it is, at such a young age. Leeds is the longest time he's ever spent at a club simply because of the relationship with the manager.
Manager
and it's
believes in
similar
him.
that way with Townsend and Rafa Benitez. And I was very sceptical about Rafa's appointment and possibly still am. From an Everton's fans' point of view, couldn't really see it. But actually now, you got to take your hat off to him for the job that he's done so far.
Yeah, might be on the score sheet again. He's not scored against West Ham, though, Andros Townsend. Might change. Right, the talk this week, and it's been the biggest story over the last fortnight, is this Newcastle takeover. As we speak, Steve Bruce has 999 games as a manager. Would hope to get to his 1,000th now, because we are very late in the week. But the takeover, it must have lifted everyone at Newcastle. Something had to happen at Newcastle, didn't it? They weren't happy with the previous owner. They've got a lot of money, wherever that money's come from. They're just happy, they just want success on the field. Well,
they've had so many false dawns, so many false promises as Newcastle fans. They've been promised this takeover, this investment, and it's never come to fruition. And actually, you look at Newcastle from the outside looking in, you think it's a proper football club. The supporters there are incredible. It was always one of my favourite away grounds to play at. And the lack of success that club's had over the years, it doesn't go with the stadium, with the supporters. And now, whether you talk about the investment, where it's come from, that's a different subject. But the level of investment that they've got is phenomenal. The first thing they've got to do this year is stay up, though.
Yeah.
You look at what Manchester City did when their investment came in. Did they get the right manager? Did they sign the right players? I think one of the first players that Manchester City signed was Robinho back in the day. And you have to get the right blend.
Yeah.
They've got the nucleus of a decent squad. I think if you look at the squad that they've got there now, maybe 2 or 3 would stay when they
has been
develop.
Starting 11 regulars.
You look
2 or 3 will stay, won't they, as part of the squad?
For me, Dubravka, he's a top goalkeeper. St Maximin stays. Callum Wilson, when he's fit, would fit into a squad. Almiron. But then if you look at the level of Manchester City, you look at those Newcastle players, how many of those Newcastle players would get into the starting 11 at Manchester City?
Yeah.
Newcastle have got 10 times, 15 times more money than Manchester City have got. So eventually in time, that squad's going to develop and it's going to evolve.
Are we looking at 2 or 3 years, though? Stay up this year, invest next year, and then maybe the year after they can go for some sort of European place?
It's not going to be instant. The money has to be used wisely. And I think it's very easy. I mean, we can all sit there and play fantasy football.
Yeah.
You and I can sit here and say, right, we'll sign those 7 players, best players in the world. But do they play well together? Will that work as a team? Defensively, will they be able to cope with not conceding goals and allowing the attacking players to go? The biggest thing for me, for Newcastle, it's quite obvious. Steve Bruce, I mean, he's in a job at the moment. I'd love to see him get his 1,000th game.
Yeah.
I'm a big admirer of him, what he's done in the game, and I think he's taken a lot of criticism there.
And he deserves that, doesn't he?
For him to have that last game, if it is to be his last game, that'd be brilliant for him. The important thing for Newcastle is the next appointment, where you go for the next manager. I think they have to have a manager that grows with the team, If the team loses 5 or 6 games in a row, you can't have the manager looking over his shoulder thinking, I'm going to be sacked because they've got all this money, they're going to bring in the next manager. It has to be work in progress, from the manager to the playing staff to the academy. There's got to be a smooth transition timeline.
Who should they be looking at, Paul? Who should they be looking at?
In my opinion, it's got to be somebody like Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard.
It's like the young upcoming manager who's been in the game and knows the game.
They've shown their credentials, Steven especially at Rangers. Bring Steven Gerrard in with somebody with a lot of experience alongside of him. Let him develop with the club, let him grow with the club. Like I just said then, if they lose 2 or 3 games, the manager doesn't need to be looking over his shoulder. He needs to know that there's a long-term plan, a long-term project. We're going to get these players in January, we're going to get these players in the summer. I'm still going to be in a job in 24 months' time, and this is where we're going and how we're going to develop. And I think that's the best way forward for Newcastle.
So a lot to talk about as far as Newcastle is concerned, but Tottenham, they've been inconsistent, your former club. Are they going to get a result here?
I think they can. I think there's a lot of hype and a lot of hysteria around Newcastle. I think the atmosphere at St James's Park on Sunday is going to be phenomenal.
It's another level, isn't it?
It's always brilliant there. As I say, I used to love playing there. But what the scenes that we've seen in the last week or so since the takeover's happened, it's going to be a hysteria. But I think it's something that could work in Tottenham's favour because the expectation level is already there. They've still got the same manager. They've still got the same squad of players. They've still got the same starting 11. And I think Tottenham are better than them. We don't know what Tottenham are going to produce. We've seen false dawns with 3 wins out of 3 first start of the season. Then they lose a lot of games. I think they got out of jail last week against Villa. And I don't think the manager knows his best 11. I don't think he knows his best starting formation. I think he might change to 3 at the weekend to try and match up against Newcastle, which for me would be disappointing. Harry Kane, still haven't seen the best of him. He wasn't at his best 2 months before the Euros, and we still haven't seen the best of him. He's got to get back to his best, but I do think Spurs could take advantage of this hysteria.
Yeah, well, they are 23-20 Spurs. If you fancy Kane to get back to his best, scored 5 goals at St James's Park. It's got 3-1 for the first goal at St James's.
I've got Spurs to win, both teams to score, and Kane to get off the mark.
There you go. So a combination of all of those bets, but certainly siding with his former club there. But it's going to be interesting times, isn't it, Newcastle? Right, final game of the weekend, the long weekend, is Monday Night Football. It's one you can watch in your shop as well. It's a London derby. Arsenal taking on Crystal Palace. Patrick Vieira going back to his former club added a little bit of spice to this one.
Yeah, I think a couple of weeks ago this would have been a really interesting fixture, the way that Arsenal were playing. Palace are a work in progress. We've seen Palace chop and change managers. They've gone away from the style with Roy Hodgson of staying in the Premier League, winning games. They've now got Vieira in. They've changed their style. They've changed a lot of the playing staff. And it is going to be work in progress, and it will take time for him to do that. Arsenal started the season very poorly. A lot of criticism for the manager, a lot of questions whether he should still be in charge. But then you saw the way that they played in the North London derby. Spurs were extremely poor. Arsenal were very good. And they've picked up results. So, you know, from the early part of the season when we're talking about Arsenal being in the bottom 3, they're nowhere near that now. Top 6, probably not yet, not quite yet, not challenging. The mid-table 11th, Palace 14th at the moment. Palace struggle away. You know, you look at the results that Palace have got. They've been to Liverpool, Spurs and Chelsea this season, and they've lost 3-0 on each occasion.
And 2 different teams, aren't they, home and away?
Yeah, home and away, they're completely different. When you look at last time out, they came from 2-0 down against Leicester to draw 2-2. So they have got some grit. They have got, you know, there's an underbelly of strength there. But it is going to take Vieira a while to evolve the team, what he's brought. Yeah,
they like Mondays as well as a stat for you. Arsenal, the last 7 Premier League home games on a Monday, have scored 15 goals and conceded 2. I don't know if it makes any difference. Players playing on a Monday night, it's under the lights, isn't it? It's just a little bit different, isn't it?
It's especially home games under lights, midweek. I always used to prefer playing under floodlights.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst time, you ask any player, the worst time to play is 11 o'clock Saturday or Sunday morning. The early morning kickoffs, and you very rarely get a good game at that time of day as well. Under lights on a night is always preferable, especially when the winter nights are coming in now. So the 3-5 o'clock kickoffs on a Saturday, they're great to play in, great atmospheres as well. And like you said, Arsenal generally score a lot of goals under lights on a Monday night, and I've got them to win 0. Looking at Palace's previous record away against the big teams, I think the bet is Arsenal to win 0.
There you go, Arsenal to win 0. His prediction on Monday nights, live in your Betfred shop as well. All those coupons are available, of course, and you can get involved online with us here at Betfred. What about your best bets of the weekend? So give us a few and we'll see how that's going to pay out.
I've been close recently, haven't I?
Yeah.
I've just not quite landed all of them.
Yeah, the odd ones just let you down.
I've tried to go for not a banker this weekend, but I think I'm looking at it sat here thinking there's not one or two there that could let me down. I'm pretty sure on them all. So I've gone Liverpool to win at Watford.
Yeah.
Leeds to win at Southampton.
Yeah.
Brighton to win at Norwich. And then just to boost the odds, I've gone for a quadruple rather than a treble because I think it's a shoe-in. It's not going to boost your odds by that much, probably about 0.02%. But I've put Man City to beat Burnley in there as a banker just to get a little bit more value. Yeah, just
ease it up. I think it probably works out about 7 and 7.5, 7.25, something like that to 1 off the top of my head. But you've also got another bet, haven't you, for us?
Oh, you know I love playing golf and, watch the Ryder Cup disappointingly. But now it's the CJ Cup in Vegas. We're doing this on Thursday and it starts this afternoon. So there's a lot of the big names playing there after the Ryder Cup. It's a really big trophy. And like you say, Dustin Johnson's there, Schauffele's there, Justin Thomas is there, McIlroy, Koepka, all the big names are there. But it's in Vegas and playing golf at altitude is different. This course is high, so it's going to mess with distances, club selection, shot selection. Not a lot of that's been taken into consideration. So one of the players, the player for me, the tip is Colin Morikawa. He had an excellent Ryder Cup. Morikawa lives in Vegas and he's a member of the golf club that this course, that they're playing this tournament at. So there's a lot of value each way in Morikawa. I think he's about 14 to 1 at the moment.
Wow.
So each way bet on that, paying 7 places. Morikawa's a decent bet for this weekend.
There you go. It's not all about football. I mean, footballers know a lot about golf. You're playing plenty of golf these days, Paul, as well, aren't you?
Yeah, just a bit.
How's it getting along?
Not as good as Morikawa.
Steady.
Yeah.
Could do with playing in Vegas. It's a bit warmer. Listen, it's great to have football back, isn't it? Premier League football. It feels like an international break kind of came at the wrong time. So just excited for get back to the nitty gritty.
It's always the same this stage of the season. You have the 2 international breaks that are crushed in so quickly. Premier League just gets started, then you get the international break. Disappointing international break as well. England should have probably beaten Hungary at Wembley. I was there, disappointed the way they played. He put everyone on the pitch that everybody wanted to see, but it just didn't work. I think we missed the 2 holding midfielders, Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips. But as you say, bring on the Premier League. Yeah, bring it back and bring those bets on as well. Brilliant as always, Paul Robinson with me for the football show. We'll do it all again for you next week. Hope your selections are successful as well. Do enjoy the football this weekend.